What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to NFL Nexus. We've got a massive story breaking today. You know, the Indianapolis Colts, they bet their entire future on Anthony Richardson. Just 3 short years later, that bet has officially gone bust. The raw, incredibly athletic phenom they drafted to be their franchise savior for the next decade, yeah, he's done in Indy. Today, we're going to break down the entire messy story, how the Colts' can't-miss prospect is now on the trade block, actively looking for a new home, and what this stunning collapse means for both him and the organization that once saw him as their absolute everything.
And there it is. This is the headline that just confirms everything that's been bubbling under the surface for months. This isn't just media speculation anymore. This isn't locker room chatter. We are past that. 3 seasons after being taken 4th overall, Anthony Richardson has formally requested a trade, and the Colts have actually agreed to let him search for a new team. This is it. This is the official end of an era in Indianapolis that, let's be honest, never even really got started. For a franchise to move on from a top 5 pick this quickly, that is a massive, massive admission of failure. And not just for the player, but for the general manager who staked his entire reputation on the pick, and the coaching staff that, for whatever reason, just couldn't develop him.
All right, so how in the world did we get to this point? We're going to start with the breakup itself, what I'm calling the point of no return. Then we'll rewind the tape and trace the full journey, from this can't-miss prospect with what we thought was limitless potential to this huge inflection point in his career. We'll dive deep into the specific reasons driving his trade request, we'll look at the teams that are reportedly already lining up to take a chance on him, and finally, we'll project what the future holds for both Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts. Make no mistake about this, okay? This is the official point of no return. When a team grants a player permission to seek a trade, it's basically a public announcement that they are done. It means all the internal efforts, all the meetings behind closed doors to try and salvage the relationship, they've failed. By doing this, the Colts have turned what was internal friction into a league-wide business transaction. They've essentially put a giant for sale sign on their former franchise quarterback. His career in Indianapolis is, for all intents and purposes, over. Now, publicly, you're going to hear this term mutual agreement. It's classic NFL front office talk, right? It's language designed to make a really messy divorce sound nice and amicable. But let's be crystal clear about what that actually means. After 3 seasons that were just completely derailed by nagging injuries, by inconsistent play, and a couple of truly bizarre setbacks, this partnership has fundamentally failed. For the 23-year-old quarterback, a fresh start isn't just an option at this point, it's a career necessity. And for the Colts, well, it's a very public admission that their grand experiment did not work out.
To really grasp just how shocking this whole development is, we have to go back to the beginning. The hype that surrounded his arrival in Indy was absolutely massive. He was seen as the perfect prospect, the guy who would finally end the team's quarterback carousel that's been spinning since Andrew Luck walked away. So how did a player with so much promise see his career in Indianapolis just completely unravel so quickly? It all started right here with this pick, number 4 overall in the 2023 NFL Draft. Coming out of Florida, Richardson was, you could argue, the most physically gifted quarterback in a really talented class. The Colts were absolutely convinced they had found their guy, the long-term answer they'd been desperately searching for. Richardson wasn't just another draft pick for them. He was supposed to be the franchise cornerstone, the player they would build their entire offense around for the next decade.
And you know, on paper, it is so easy to see why they fell in love with him. His physical gifts were just off the charts. We're talking about a player with the size of a defensive end, the open field speed of a star running back, and an arm that could just effortlessly launch a football 70 yards downfield. He looked like a quarterback that was bioengineered in a lab for the modern NFL. And because of that, the expectations, the hype, it was absolutely immense.
But all of that jaw-dropping potential, it never consistently showed up on game day. And these numbers, these numbers tell a story of an immense struggle. Just 15 starts in 3 seasons, mostly because of injuries. More interceptions than touchdowns, that's always a huge red flag. But that 47.7% completion percentage, that is the real killer. To put that in context for you, the league average for starting quarterbacks is usually in the mid-60s. Being under 50% is just catastrophic for an offense. It means more than half your passes aren't even finding a receiver. Drives are constantly stalling, you're putting your defense in terrible field position. It just highlights these persistent fundamental issues with accuracy and decision-making that were never, ever resolved in Indy.
This timeline right here, it just shows you how quickly everything went south. It is a stunningly rapid descent. In the summer of 2025, just 2 years after being drafted to be the savior, He loses a head-to-head preseason competition for the starting job to Daniel Jones, a veteran journeyman the team brought in as a safety net. Then, in October, comes the final bizarre blow, that season-ending injury that effectively sealed his fate in Indy and leads directly to this trade request. It is a shocking fall from franchise savior to the trade block in less than 3 years.
So what was the final straw, right? What was the tipping point that pushed him to officially demand a move? Well, sources close to the situation say this wasn't just a football decision. For Richardson, it became a deeply personal one, driven by a perfect storm of on-field frustration, a clear loss of confidence from the organization, and honestly, a heavy dose of just plain bad luck.
When you really break it down, the breaking points were clear, and they just kept piling up. The injuries never stopped, which prevented him from ever getting into a consistent rhythm. But the biggest blow, emotionally and professionally, had to be losing the starting job. When the Colts handed the keys to veteran Daniel Jones, it was a public declaration that their belief in Richardson as the immediate answer was fading, if not gone completely. The freak eye injury was the final nail in the coffin. With the Colts clearly ready to move forward with Jones, another year in Indy for Richardson meant another year holding a clipboard, and his career just couldn't afford that.
Let's just pause on this injury for a second, because it is one of the strangest and most unfortunate things you will ever hear about. On October 12th, he fractured his orbital bone. That's the delicate bone structure that protects your eye. Not during a game, not even in a practice, but during a simple pre-game warm-up. It was a 1 in a million freak accident that prematurely ended his 2025 season and any shot he had of reclaiming his job. And for a quarterback whose entire job relies on his vision, it had to be an absolutely terrifying setback.
But here it is. This is the single most important piece of information for any team out there that is considering a trade for him. League sources are now confirming his vision is fully restored. That is a huge green light. Following recent consultations with specialists, the biggest medical red flag surrounding his future has officially been removed. This news is absolutely massive for his trade market. It takes a significant risk off the table, and it makes him a much more attractive, high-upside asset for a team to gamble on.
So, what do we have? He's healthy, he's only 23 years old, and he has 1 year left on his very affordable rookie contract. The question now becomes, who is willing to take the gamble? Despite all his struggles in Indy, that elite physical talent is still there, just waiting to be unlocked. And you can bet that several teams in need of a quarterback will be kicking the tires on this sky-high potential, hoping that a simple change of scenery is all he needs.
Sources have pinpointed these 5 teams as the most likely destinations, and it's a really fascinating list. Each one of them offers a completely unique situation and a different path forward for Richardson's career. Some offer a clear, immediate path to a starting job, while others present an opportunity to just sit, learn, and develop behind an established star. Let's break down the logic behind some of these potential landing spots.
The potential paths forward here could not be more different. On one end of the spectrum, you have a team like the Arizona Cardinals. They appear ready to move on from Kyler Murray and are actively looking for their next franchise QB. Richardson could go there and legitimately compete to be the starter from day one. On the complete opposite end, you have the Kansas City Chiefs. There, he could execute a full career reset. He could spend a year learning the intricacies of the position from the best in the business, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, before hitting free agency in 2027 as a much more polished and prepared quarterback. The other teams offer a middle ground. In Miami, he could be a high-upside backup in a great insurance policy for Tua Tagovailoa. In Pittsburgh, he could inject life and that dynamic playmaking ability into an offense that desperately needs it. And in Minnesota, he could be the long-term, high-potential swing for a team that's trying to figure out its future after Kirk Cousins.
So this trade, whenever it happens, is going to create 2 very different futures. One chapter is ending, and 2 new, very uncertain ones are about to begin. Richardson gets the new beginning he's so desperately looking for, and the Colts, well, they're forced to start their search for a franchise quarterback all over again. So what does the immediate fallout really look like for both of them?
Here you can really see the 2 divergent paths this trade creates. For Anthony Richardson, it is all about a new team gambling. They are gambling that they have the right coaching staff, the right offensive system, and the right environment to finally unlock that massive, untapped potential we all saw in his college tape. For the Colts, it's a painful and very public hard reset. They are right back to square one with a bridge quarterback in Daniel Jones and no clear long-term answer in sight. It sets the franchise back years, and it calls into question the entire team-building philosophy of their current front office.
So the Anthony Richardson chapter in Indianapolis is now officially closed. He was drafted to be the solution to a problem that has plagued the Colts for years, but now he becomes someone else's high-risk, high-reward project.
He still possesses that same rare combination of size, speed, and arm talent that made him a top 5 pick. But the biggest question in all of this remains, was the problem Indianapolis or was it the player? His next stop, wherever it is, will give us the definitive answer. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments where you think he's going to end up. And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to NFL Nexus so you don't miss any of our deep dives. Also, if you're looking for a great gift for kids, grandkids, or even just a way for you to unwind, check out our NFL-themed coloring books. They're a lot of fun. You can find the link in the description or just scan the QR code on your screen right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.